Diane. Hello and welcome to Biters.
And this is Marnell, and Fear the Reaper needs more cowbell.
Oh my god, that is hilarious. I had totally forgot that skit, and I will be honest with you and say that is one of my favorite songs.
Mine too. So the other half was like, who sings this? And I'm like, Blue Oyster Cult. And he's like,
Are
no,
you
it doesn't sound like them.
are you
And he's
kidding
like,
me? Really? He
right.
had to ask you?
Like, he didn't think it sounded like them. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe it kind of sounds a little remastered. But
No,
seriously,
it was them. Yeah.
every time I hear it, I'm like, it needs more cowbell. Saturday Night Live ruined me.
I love that song.
I do too.
It's one of my favorites. It will be forever. It's so grim, and I just love it.
Of course, it was an inspiration for Stephen King for The Stand.
I did not know that.
It was.
That
It
is
was,
super cool.
The opening song in the original, and I believe that isn't there a reference to it in the book? Maybe that was just something I read in an article that
if there
is an
is,
inspiration.
it didn't stand out in my brain. I will tell you, this is Housewives housekeeping, but I don't have anything for housekeeping, and this just came into my brain. So I learned about a band this weekend called She Wants Revenge. And they're kind of a sexy version of Bauhaus. Highly recommend.
You'll have to send it to me.
Okay, remind me and I will.
Okay.
She Wants Revenge for any of the listeners. So, we're talking about The Stand. And we're talking about episode 5, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which of course always makes me think of Hunter S. Thompson. Oh, in New Vegas. Was it New Vegas?
Yes, Fear and Loathing in New Vegas.
Oh, so Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, of course, is a Hunter S. Thompson novel.
Right.
Well, kind of a novel / real life story. Because I think it's all. I'm going to be full disclosure. I've never read it. I'm not a big Hunter S. Thompson fan. I should be. I just missed it. But I think it's also his story of like being on the campaign trail. Yeah, now I'm gonna have to totally Google that.
I haven't even watched the movie with Johnny Depp.
Oh, I'm kind of struggling with Johnny Depp a little bit. I'm still kind of struggling with the whole Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing.
I am Team Depp.
I know, and all of my friends are, so I think that says something about me and not about you.
And now having said that, and I thought about this week, we talked about Marilyn Manson in one of our last episodes.
I know, and you told me to listen to that song, which was really great, and then this stuff came out about...
And now, like...
Marilyn Manson.
He's canceled. Yeah. Like, we gotta cancel him. And, to be perfectly fair, Evan Rachel Wood did talk about an abusive boyfriend, and the time period that she gave, it was very, very obvious that
it was Manson.
It was Manson.
Yeah.
For a long, long time, she's talked about it, and so there's always been sort of whispers about it, but it's kind of like it's kind of a double-edged sword where it's like you can't hold it against the guy if it's like just whispers in the shadows, but you also can't expect her to talk about something that's so private so publicly, and point fingers to someone who I this is gonna sound wrong, like above her, like has a bigger career, a bigger star, that kind of thing. So I get both sides, but I'm on the chick side this time because, he's innocent until proven guilty, but there are like 10 women now who are like, yep, that was my experience. And kudos to Dita Von Teese, who came out and was like, that was absolutely not my experience with him. I had my own issues, drug abuse, and he had problems with drug abuse and cheating, but like there was never any abuse on his part. But I completely stand behind these women, you know. So
I did not read the article about her, so that's cool. That's cool that she was able to say that was not my experience, but I think that what these women are saying is legit.
Right. And she was basically like, anyone who tells you that that was my experience is not telling my story. It's so good for her.
Interesting.
And good for all of those women who are finally, you know, getting some sort of coming to terms with what happened to them. So, unfortunately, we have to cancel Marilyn Manson, which he was supposed to come out in a movie.
Well, he was supposed to have a role in The Stand.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, we talked about that. But he was supposed to come out in a movie here very soon that I wanted to watch. Now I can't even remember what it was. We've been talking about a lot of other things, so that really wasn't on my mind.
We have been talking about a lot of other things. So we talked, just so everybody knows, for like an hour before we signed on. So apologies in advance. I am probably a little rummy. I'm kind of tired. I've had more wine than I probably should have, which seems to be my pattern of late. So here we are.
Right.
All right. So Fear and Loathing in New Vegas. What was your rating?
So by far, this has been my favorite episode yet.
Oh my God, that is so funny because mine is the opposite. So go ahead.
I gave it a 4.2 awkward dinner guests.
That is so crazy. So this was my least favorite of the episodes so far. And it was 3.5 lost bracelets out of 5.
Ah. Huh. Oh, and by the way, it's American Gods.
What about American Gods? Oh, Marilyn Manson was supposed to be in American Gods?
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I read something else recently about American Gods, and I can't remember what it was, but I need to watch more of that. I've only watched the first season of episode 3, but I've had a lot going on, and I'm kind of tired. I'm probably going to go to bed after we podcast.
For the listeners who just heard that, I think she meant episode 1 of season 3.
Did I misspeak again?
You said episode 3 of season 1 or something.
Okay, so I'm kind of a hot mess, and I apologize to everyone right now. It's been a big week. It's been a long week. It's kind of been a week.
It's been a good week.
Yeah, and then I ended up going into Anchorage, which is our big city, and doing a bunch of shopping today, and I'm really tired. So, yeah.
She's so tired that the dogs are tired. Like we've been talking for over an hour, and I'm like, "Are your dogs okay?" Oh.
It's just been a big week. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't really have any numbers other than our IMDb number, which is this episode was rated a 7 out of 10, which is, I think, an overall increase for The Stand.
Mm-hmm.
Again, The Stand has not been getting very good ratings. I was actually really happy. I saw a review on IMDb today, and the person who did the review was like, people need to lighten up. This is actually really good. And that made me feel better because even though I rated this episode lower than I have the other episodes, and we'll talk about why, I really do think it's been really good, and I'm really glad that we're watching it.
Yeah.
Although, oh my God, it's February 6th and Walking Dead comes back at the end of the month. What are we going to do?
I know. So I was actually looking at this today because we are podcasting The Stand behind a few episodes. So this is our last episode that we have actually both watched ahead. So we don't know what happens in the next episode finally. And I was looking at how many episodes we still have to do and when does it end. And it ends on February 11th. And I was like, oh God, we are going to be like, we're going to have to triple our podcasting time.
Yeah, there's going to be like basically a week where we're going to do 3 podcasts. So It is what it is. It'll be fine.
Yep. I think we've done it before.
We have, and we've
Yeah.
survived.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, I did pull up a little bit about Hunter S. Thompson because, again, this made me think of his book Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, not New Vegas. And Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is semi-autobiographical, and it's about the protagonist, Raoul Duke, and his attorney, Dr. Gonzo, as they descend into Las Vegas to chase the American dream through a drug-induced haze. And it's basically like kind of the story of Hunter S. Thompson's life. And it first appeared as a two-part series in Rolling Stone in 1971, and then was published in a book as 1972, or as a book in 1972. So that's totally what it made me think of. You know, I mean, Fear and Loathing, there certainly is plenty of Fear and Loathing going around in New Vegas.
Yes. And so this wasn't at all in most of this wasn't at all in the 94 version. So the 94 version made Vegas seem kind of like, oh, we're getting society back up and running in a more city-fied way than they were doing it in Colorado. It was very like, there are people cleaning the streets and people restoring power and, things like that. There was no like slave pits and pleasure girls and things like that. But I mean, there was plenty
I will tell you that the book probably kind of splits the difference, but it's definitely more in the realm of the 94 version of the miniseries.
Okay. I mean, there was the whole, they were crucifying people that were doing wrong. And of course, those people were, like people like drug addicts and criminals and things like that. But of course, there wasn't a whole lot of things that were against the law other than, drugs and things like that. But they didn't have the whole, like, people are fighting each other with chainsaws and having sex in glass elevators,
or just like on the floor in the I mean, I was looking at some of the like different tableaus that were set up in New Vegas, and I was like, what did I just see? And I know this is CBS All Access and they're saying the F word, but what?
Yeah, there were some unexpected scenes.
Definitely.
Yeah, you can get away with a lot more on a subscriber channel than anything else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So our writers were Jill Killington again, aka Jill Kill. And then a person, and I don't know if it's Nate Lee, it's Knate, so I'm assuming he pronounces it Nate, but I'm not sure. Koba just found her toy. No. And Nate Lee has done this. He did The New Mutants. He wrote for The New Mutants. He did a movie with Halle Berry called Kidnap. A movie with Thomas Hayden Church called Cardboard Boxer. And I kind of cracked up because I was like, Thomas Hayden Church was a thing like a really long time ago. And then did Jackass 3D and Jackass 3.5. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, I was like, okay, really? I can kind of see the Jackass influence on this episode.
See, and I always go back to Mad Max. I think it was Road Warrior or whatever. Took place in
the Thunderdome, right? Oh, yeah, right. The first one was like 2020 or 2021, right?
Yeah, and so the joke is like, is it cool to start wearing fetish wear? Or do we have to wait a few months into 2021?
That's funny.
And apparently everyone in Vegas is just wearing fetish wear.
Would you let me know? I mean, I just want to make sure that I stay on top of the trends.
That's just the uniform of the day now. Like booty shorts and gimp masks.
Oh my god. Hot dog eating contest masks.
Which ball gowns and shotguns fit in real well to New Vegas.
You know what? I mean, the whole ball gowns and shotguns thing, that there are a lot of people who are like really into that whole idea, and I'm right there with you.
Right?
Yeah. In fact, I think I'm going to go look for a ball gown this week. Oh, life is funny.
It is.
Life is interesting. All right. Our director was a person named Chris Fisher. I would have to say probably the only things that I recognize other than this and Eureka and Warehouse 13. Well, those were the things that I recognized. I mean, I know that they made Taken into a TV series and he worked on that. I think you've talked about The Magicians before.
I love The Magicians.
Okay, so Chris Fisher has worked on The Magicians.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to laugh because of our Murderino backgrounds. So he worked on Rampage, the Hillside Strangler Murders, excuse me, and the 2002 movie Night Stalker, which I'm wondering if you've watched the Netflix series yet that you were talking about.
Of course I have.
How is it?
It's actually pretty good. So, it went a lot more into the investigation and the other crimes.
Okay, that's interesting.
It talked to some of the survivors. It went way more in depth than just the kind of the gore or the shock factor of what we're used to seeing for Night Stalker documentaries. So yeah, it was very, very good.
I'll have to watch it. But again, there's so much on my list, and I'm still reading the last Bill Hodges novel. And I've got 2 Hamilton books on my list now, so I'm in big trouble. And I'm busy. I'm a busy girl right now, so just have a lot going on in my life.
In a good way.
In a good way.
And I'm going to make you watch another movie for podcasting tomorrow.
Yes, I have to get up tomorrow and I have to do some stuff around the house and I have to chart and then I have to watch. What am I watching? It's an Odessa Young movie called Assassination Nation. Yes. Yep. Yes, because you said it was really good.
Yes, the night that we podcasted last Saturday night, I had purchased it before we started podcasting, and I went to bed and I watched it, and I immediately wanted to watch it again, but it was like midnight, so I was like, okay, gonna watch it again, and like, of course, like, because I'm a cheapo, I actually rented it for $3.99, and now I'm just like gonna go buy it for $15.
Are you really?
I am. Like, I really liked it.
Huh. Okay.
You do not have to buy it for $14.99. You can rent it for $3.99, but it only gets you a rental for 2 days.
Well, I spent a lot of money today, so I'm probably only going to rent it.
Oh.
All right. So, our featured cast, you chose. I thought it was good. I had a few other people in mind, but this was one of the people that I definitely had in mind, was Natalie Martinez, who plays Dana Jurgens.
Yeah. So one of the reasons why I picked her this episode is, of course, we see Dana's demise this episode. And also, I just really like the actress. So when
she is gorgeous.
She is. So
and
she's
that
actually
suit.
A model.
Oh my God, that suit. I want that suit.
Okay, so go to her Instagram. Her Instagram handle is I am Natalie Martinez. And she has got some amazing behind the scenes photos of her on the set. And specifically, there's a cute little video of her like doing the whole, like, she's kind of look like in a kind of grungy outfit. And then all of a sudden she like jumps up, and when she lands, she's in the sequins outfit and got all the makeup on and everything. There is an amazing photo of her in that lingerie that she was wearing this episode.
Right. She looked amazing.
Yes. And there's her, some behind the scene photos of her in the sequence jumpsuit, but also with the wound to her neck.
Oh, cool.
And then
okay.
there's some video of them actually doing the plaster cast for the effect for the prosthetic she wore to make the wound in her neck. And so there's some behind the scene footage of them, you know, doing that makeup and everything. And then there's just some awesome glamour shots of Lloyd and Julie, not Lloyd, Lloyd, Julie, and Dana in Vegas, and they're all dressed up and everything. It's very
will
cute.
Definitely talk about Lloyd and Julie.
Yeah, and so then there is actually a video of her and Julie dancing to Rocky Horror Picture Time Warp.
Oh, you'll have to share that.
Yeah, her Instagram is super fun. I had a good time scrolling through her photos because she is actually a former model. And of course, she still kind of does modeling, but that's how she kind of got her start in Hollywood was her modeling gigs. And she was kind of most known for being a model for Jennifer Lopez's clothing line, Hustler.
I saw that.
Yeah. And now she is a triple threat because she is actually out with a music video with Lauren Hashin and Naz Tokyo in a music video, Ride the Wave.
Okay, I'm so completely lame. I have no idea who either of those people are.
I do not either, but just based on like the videos that Natalie has posted and like the outfits that the women wear in the videos and everything, it just looks amazing. I haven't watched because you and I have been gabbing and everything.
Sorry.
It's okay. But so what I originally know Natalie from, so when we saw her in this, I had to look her up because I'm like, I know her from stuff. So I have to say she was in a not great Netflix series. It was good enough for me to watch the entire 7 episodes, but I don't want anyone out there to waste their time. It's very like, it's a step up from Sharknado. Like, there's some pretty cheesy sci-fi channel effects on it.
That's hilarious.
The story is great.
Okay,
she is great.
Speaking
All
of
of the
cheesy effects, we need to talk about some cheesy effects about this episode. But go ahead. The story is great. The acting.
The story is great. She's great. It's called the I Land. I, like the letter I land. And like at about episode 2 or 3, you kind of can predict the rest of the episodes. It's very like kind of a play off of like if Lost and the Matrix were like occurred in the same universe. We'll just put it that way. So I recognize her from that, but I also recognized her from a really great TV series that only got 1 season, and it should have gotten more. And it was called APB. And she played Officer Teresa Murphy, and a billionaire tech guy, kind of an Elon Musk kind of guy, is witness to the tragic murder of his friend. And so he, in like an area that's a community that's underserved and underfunded. And so he actually goes into the police department and is like, I'm basically going to fund the police and give them all of my awesome tech toys. So like the police now have drones and like they have like the best IT people and things like that. And so it's about like this street cop who, there's kind of a spark between these two, but she's also very like this is street cop work. This is, how is the internet going to help me, solve cases and things like that. And so it was a very, very good television show. It should have got more than one episode. It was called APB. I'm really sad it's gone, but she did an amazing job in it. And then I also recognized her from 2 more Stephen King properties.
Oh, okay.
She was in Under the Dome.
I thought that was a Stephen King property. I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Yes, and she was also in End of Watch.
So, End of Watch is the last Bill Hodges novel, but I don't think End of Watch that she was in was the same thing.
I think it was.
Really? Because the description that I read of the movie that she was in didn't... I'm reading End of Watch right now, and it didn't really seem to have any relationship. I could be wrong.
Huh. That would be weird if it was just named the same. It's been so long since I've seen it.
I really didn't get the sense that it was the same.
Okay. I really remember it because it's got Jake Gyllenhaal, Michael Pena, Anna Kendrick, and David Harbour in it.
I'm looking it up right now as we speak. Shot documentary style, the film follows the daily grind of 2 young police officers in LA who are partners and friends, and what happens when they meet criminal forces greater than themselves. That is not consistent with the story of the novel.
Interesting.
Yeah, no. So I think it's just got the
name.
same name. Yeah.
Well, see, I would have known that if I would have read the book.
Well, it's not out in black and white yet, so.
No, it's so funny. The QAnon Anonymous guys, I was listening to one of their old episodes and they were talking about something, and one of the guys is like, "Oh yeah, did you read the book?" Or no, something like, "I'll bet you didn't read the book." And the guy's like, "No, I didn't know there was a book." And he's like, "There isn't, but you wouldn't have read it anyway."
And you were like, "I've had that conversation with my sister."
Right? I was like, "Oh my God, this is a familiar conversation."
That is hilarious.
So what Natalie is probably what she probably sticks out in a lot of people's mind is her, and I think it was a very bit part, but it was kind of a standout part. She was in the movie Death Race in 2008.
So I was kind of wondering about that. I didn't watch it because the first one was not really any big thing for me. So I was like, I don't really need to seek out the remake.
Oh no. Oh, okay. I thought you were saying this is the sequel. I was like, no, the sequel is awful. The first one was great.
But anyway, so she had a small part in the remake.
Yeah. She was his I don't know what they called it, a co-pilot or passenger or whatever in the Death Race. And so from the women's prison. So yeah, I love Jason Statham, so that's why she sticks out in that. But
he is kind of hot.
He is.
Sorry, biters, I'm having one of those nights.
She has got 2 things, one in post-production and one completed, that are coming up. So this will not, of course, be the last thing we see her in. So looks like she's coming out in a romance sci-fi thriller called Reminiscence.
That looked really good.
It does.
Yeah, and it's got Hugh Jackman and Thandie Newton in it.
Yeah, I love Thandie.
You know, I haven't seen her in years, but I remember that she was in Beloved. So
she plays a very prominent role in Westworld, which season 3 needs to drop anytime now.
Okay.
And then she's coming out in an episode of Ordinary Joe, which I've never heard of. Explores 3 parallel lives of Joe Kimbora after he makes a pivotal choice at the crossroads of his life and asks the questions of how different his life might look if you made your decisions based on love, loyalty, or passion. So that sounds kind of interesting too.
Very cool.
So far, it looks like there's just the one episode. So
Yeah, she's a pretty hot little actress. I'm interested in her. She also was in the TV series From Dusk Till Dawn,
yeah,
which
2
Quentin
episodes.
Tarantino is always a little disturbing for me, so I'm not sure that I'll go back and watch the series. And she was in a Pitbull video.
Oh, that's right. She was. So I liked The Dusk Till Dawn, the first movie, but there were a number of other movies that I never followed up on, and I never watched the series.
I
So.
just really struggle with Tarantino. Like, I love the Kill Bill movies, but a lot of the really rapey stuff that he does is very disturbing for me.
Yeah.
So,
You know, the Tarantino Rodriguez films, though, are kind of equal opportunity in that respect, though.
are you having a Pulp Fiction moment?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it kind of fits in with the theme of this episode because, the whole booty shorts and gimp mask thing.
This movie, or this episode was a little disturbing, which we'll talk about more.
Like I said, the chainsaw fighting pits. Wow.
Which is so not a thing in the books. It's so not a thing in the book. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
All right. Anything more that you want to say about Dana Jurgens?
No, I thought maybe I found her on Twitter, but it looks like there's a couple of, there's 2 blue checked Natalie Martinez, but one of them is not her, and the other one, who I think is her, her Twitter account is private.
Interesting.
I have never come across a public figure having their Insta or any of their social medias private. I've heard of them having ones under pseudonyms that's private, that's like just family and close friends. But it's not like it's their public name. They'll have a public one and a private one, but yeah. So just her Insta.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh, she's got a TikTok. So her Insta does link to her TikTok, but it's mostly like dancing videos and things. So not my kind of TikTok. She is a very good dancer. But yeah.
And she's gorgeous.
She is gorgeous. You can definitely tell she is a model based on her Insta. She has got some gorgeous shots of herself.
And I still want that suit. I would never pull it off the way she did, but damn, I want that suit.
Every time I see suits like that, I'm like, oh, that's got to be a lot of double-sided tape.
Oh, that's funny.
I wanted Julie's boots.
I have some things to say about Julie. We'll talk about Julie.
Okay, we'll talk about Julie.
All right. So I don't have very much in Whisperer's Corner, but I have a handful of things. So Jensen Ackles of Supernatural is joining The Boys season 3. And JDM has apparently tweeted he is ready to suit up and be part of The Boys season 3. So I don't know that it's actually going to happen. I don't know that he can make it work with his schedule for Walking Dead, but here we are. Because I think that the interview that I heard with Carl Urban was that they're supposed to be like filming now.
Yeah, I don't know. And especially with the issues with that COVID comes with filming, because there's so many projects that are backed up right now that I'm sure they're going to want to squeeze as much shooting in as possible during whatever season they need to shoot it in.
Right.
So
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to work out. Apparently someone from the production crew, like a director, made overtures to JDM and he was like, absolutely 100%. So we'll see if it happens or not. Another thing that I have is that there is some insider information that in season 11, Judith is basically going to get teed up to be Walking Dead's future protagonist, which potentially could include a spin-off and a crossover.
Huh.
So I don't know if that's complete and utter garbage and disinformation, but there we are.
Interesting. I wonder if they will keep the same actress and follow that, or if they will do a time jump.
I mean, it's totally one of those things where I love that little actress and it would be great to see her continue to work in Walking Dead, but there's also part of me that's like, I'd really like to see her be able to branch out beyond one franchise.
Right.
So, I don't know.
And I almost feel like the actress herself and the character right now are too young to really do too much with. I feel that...
Although kids mature so quickly. I mean, remember how quickly Chandler Riggs matured?
Yeah, but I mean, she in real life, and of course I think in the show too, she's like 10. So it's not like they're going to give her a love interest or anything.
Right. Don't get too squicky on me, man.
Yeah. And I mean, not that that's the only thing that our female protagonist would have to offer, but that usually is an aspect of, life. So,
Yeah, I don't know.
It would be very difficult to give her a lot of adult storylines, which we know the, post-apocalyptic zombie universe is going to have a lot of them. So,
although to be fair, it's taken so ridiculously long to get the Rick Grimes movies off of the landing strip. I don't know, the launching pad. Maybe that's a better description. They could potentially take a long time to get the Judith stuff up and running.
Yeah. And, I kept wanting to call Kaylee Fleming Cassidy, and it's because of Lydia Cassidy
McClintock. Yeah,
Yeah.
McClincy? McClintock?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm blowing her name, sorry.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe they could do a couple of years of younger Judith and then take a time jump, maybe. That would be a way to sort of ease us all into a Judith-centric Walking Dead.
So the interesting thing is, and if people don't know this by now, I'm sorry, because the comic book has been over for a couple of years, but it ends with Carl. So the thing is, of course, is it going to end with Judith? I don't know.
Yeah. I would definitely be excited to see Jeffrey Dean Morgan and the boys, though.
Yeah.
It's like chocolate and peanut butter, two great tastes, taste great together.
I love it. All right, the only other stuff I have, there are actually two things, and they are both about Coleman Domingo. So first, he has said he is totally down for a role in the MCU. So apparently the director who is doing Captain Marvel 2 is the same director who directed the version of Candyman that he starred in.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, oh, I'm totally down for Captain Marvel 2. So we'll see if that actually happens. And then he also confirmed that he will be returning as Victor Strand in season 7.
Nice.
And we haven't finished season 6 yet, so that's a big confirm.
Huh.
Yeah, so that's all I have. I don't have anything really exciting that I haven't already talked about for Housewives, except if you're into Bauhaus, like dark 80s goth, She Wants Revenge is the group you want to listen to.
I will have to look that up.
Remind me and I'll send you a copy of the album cover at the end of our podcast.
Okay.
All right, so that leads us to our goods, bads, and uglies. Your turn or my turn?
I can't remember.
I can't either. Do you care?
It's been a week. Nope.
Smalls is like, it's your turn. All right, I'll go first.
All right.
So my good is that Larry's redemption arc, I think, really starts in this episode. And I think the thing that starts it is where he's like, Nadine, of course, I totally want you, but I don't want it to be under these circumstances. And I don't want you to wake up tomorrow and be like, he took advantage of me and this was really horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, so I actually went back and rewatched the part in the 1994 version to see how it went, because it's been a couple weeks since I watched it. And it's
a couple of weeks.
Well, and it's like 6 hours. So like, there's a lot to take in. But I was like, I can't remember how it went in the original episode. And this was done way better. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So, I mean, in the book, I think we probably see Larry start to have a little bit more of a redemption arc before this, but there is definitely the whole, no, Nadine, I think you're wonderful, but actually in the book, he's in a relationship with a woman named Lucy Swan.
Right.
And he's like, I'm in a relationship and Lucy and I are parenting Joe, and I think you're gorgeous, but it's just not going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas in the first one, it just, there was, and like I've said, there's a lot more animosity in the first one, in this scene. And it also seems like Nadine does want to stay, but it also is more like it's because it's like it's almost causing her physical pain to like be with Flag. Like anytime like he comes to her or she thinks about him or anything, it's almost like there's a physical pain, and it's more about like, I just don't want to be in pain anymore. Not that like I have anything against like, getting with the devil or anything. Whereas in this one, she's really like, I really don't want to lose my soul,
So I'm so struggling with the whole Nadine portrayal still, because, I mean, I definitely feel like this is her last shot at redemption and at separating from Flag, and I really felt that it went that way in the book as well. Mm-hmm. But I feel like the way that they are portraying Nadine is so different from the way that I perceived her in the book.
Yeah.
Because again, she was so much more conflicted. She was so much more tortured. I kind of got the feeling that she wasn't as like hot and sexy as Amber Heard's character is in this book, or in this movie. Yeah. I just don't really necessarily like the way that they played the character in this series.
Yeah, it's a lot different from the 94 version. I'll be interested because we don't know, of course, what's happening in the next episode, even though it's out.
Right, because we're being good and not watching ahead so we can't get messed up.
Right. And what's crazy is when I went back to rewatch specifically this scene, is it actually takes place in the last hour of this 6-hour episode. So if you're looking for it, it's between hour 5 and 6. It's right at the start of hour 5.
I'm like actually super excited to watch the 94 series, and I didn't think I would say that when we started this process out, but I am.
So I will be interested to see if Nadine's character kind of like, let's just say she seems a lot less conflicted after they her and Harold do what her and Harold are going to do.
And did you kind of get the feeling, and I know we're totally going down the road of writing potpourri now, but did you kind of get the feeling where you were like, she's not liking this whole hookup with Harold? She's like,
Oh, no.
ew, you gave me to
Yeah.
him. Ew. And
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like she was conflicted in the book, but I don't know. I felt like she was more like, this is a thing that I have to do to get with Flag. And I feel
Yeah.
like in this one, she's like, you made me get with Harold, and that's squicky.
And so, what's funny is this scene is actually out of order with the whole Harold and her getting together and her trying to get Larry to sleep with her. They're actually flip-flopped in the 94 movie. So she actually like goes to Larry first, and after that fails, she goes home, and Flag basically terrorizes her into getting with Harold.
Oh, interesting, because this
Right.
is much more consistent with the book, where Flag is like basically like, you're going to use Harold.
Yeah.
And she
Yeah.
goes to Larry and she's like, please make this stop. Please sleep with me to make this stop.
Yeah. And so it's funny how they've totally flip-flopped it.
Huh.
Because like I said, I didn't rewatch the entire 94 version tonight. I skipped around to the parts that I thought I may have misremembered from watching it, because watching this one, because some of the stuff was out of order. And like I said, we're only halfway through this the nine parts. Is it 9
Right.
parts?
So we're
Yeah.
we
Episode
finished
5.
episode 5 and we've got 4
Yeah.
episodes to go.
And so, like I said, this happens at the very end of her trying to give herself to Larry. Happens at the very end of
Interesting.
the movie. So yeah,
Which, I mean, everything that happens to her probably 3/4 of the way through the book, maybe a little bit further.
yeah, I feel like this iteration stuck a lot more with the book than the 94 version.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Except for what is my good, apparently.
Okay, you go. You tell me you're good.
I kind of liked this imagination of Sin City. You know, like I said, in the 94 version,
Okay.
it was a much more PG version. And
Makes sense. I mean, it was 1994 and you didn't have all access.
Right, this
Yeah.
was on cable. Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, this is kind of what we always imagined society will devolve into two factions. It'll devolve into the people in Colorado who actually just like want to live in the nice houses and have dinners and with friends and, you know, live their lives and have babies and stuff. And then you're going to have the people in Sin City who are walking around in fetish wear and chopping people to death with chainsaws and having sex just randomly in open areas.
Sorry.
You know, there are two kinds of people in this world. My advice is to avoid both.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
It's okay.
That was funny.
So I liked it. I liked the updated version. You know, and the whole idea of that I don't know where they are getting the people for the slave pits, but apparently if you come to New Vegas on your own, you are considered a citizen. So I would kind of be more interested in the story behind that. Like, are they just like, is that part of their plan? Is they're gonna like siege Colorado and like take all of the people there and like, you know, throw them in the slave pits or whatever? But like, you know, service does guarantee citizenship, so I just thought the whole society was a bit interesting, that they seem to be functioning well with electricity and plumbing and cold beer, and apparently somebody's got a cow to get Flag milk.
Right. What is that all about?
Ice
that
milk
is weird.
Ice milk. Who does that?
Right. No, it's just weird. The whole thing is weird.
So I'm really interested in New Vegas and how that's all working out for people. What are the rules? It's just super interesting, considering that I actually still do not like the Lloyd character.
I liked him less this episode.
Yeah, he is a completely different character, and like I said,
is
far less charismatic than the original Lloyd. So, but I loved Sin City.
Well, that leads right into my bad.
Okay.
So my bad is that I didn't love it because it diverts so much from the book. So Vegas is big and crazy in this series, and there's all sorts of drugs and booze, and Lloyd and Julie are crazy. Julie is way sexier, and Lloyd is like this pimp. Mm-hmm. And like Julie was kind of a peripheral character, and Lloyd was really actually pretty down to earth in the book. So I'm struggling with that, although Julie is very sexy. And Flag actually puts someone to death. He actually crucifies someone for drug use in the novel. Right. So like the whole diversion of New Vegas, the way it's portrayed in the novel to the way it's portrayed now, has been really hard for me. I get it. I think it's visually very appealing, like all of the elevators and all of the kinky sex and like just how crazy it is. It's visually appealing, but it's not what I read. It's not what I know. And it's like, that's part of the reason I rated this episode so low, is that it was so very different from what I have in my mind as New Vegas.
Right.
So that's my thing. Although I will say, like, the whole, and also, and this is kind of rotting potpourri and kind of my bad, the whole threesome, or the attempted threesome with Lloyd, Julie, and Dana, I was like, that's not a thing.
So, yeah, no, in the 1994 version, Lloyd is much more down to earth, much more like...
And he's not terrified of Flag the way that he is in this version.
Not overtly, like it doesn't render him flaccid. But he is, in the 94 version, he is with Julie.
And so he's not in the book. Julie really is a very peripheral character in the book.
So she's very peripheral in the 94 version. The only time that we actually really see her is we see her noticing Tom Cullen and putting it together that, he was sent here too as a spy. Cause she's working up, like on a power, like she's in a bucket truck and she's got a hard hat on and everything. And like the next time we see her is, she's sleeping in, Lloyd's bed, and she's like, kind of in a nightie and a nightgown and everything.
Interesting.
And he comes to get her, because Flag is, like, she's a spy, bring her to me. I need to know who the third spy is, which of course is Tom Cullen. And that's when we get the whole, she tries to stab him in the original one, and her knife actually, Flag turns it into a banana. So there was no whole dramatic death scene of Flag. And then because she doesn't have her knife, she actually breaks a window and throws herself onto the jagged glass. So it was very similar to the shoving a broken bottle into her throat. But yeah, she's very peripheral in the 94 version. But there was definitely no threesome with Julie or... Right. Yeah, nothing like that. But I loved that they made her a welder and they called her Flash Dance.
Yeah, that
I thought
was
that
funny.
was a cute call out.
That was very funny.
Yeah.
All
So
right. I guess that
my
gets us.
bad.
Okay, go ahead.
We are in episode 5, and there is still no trash can man.
You're right. I didn't realize that. Oh my
So
God.
disappointed.
And we know that he's going to happen because we've seen the casting.
And
But
we talked about it before we started watching, and I was like, I heard there wasn't going to be a trash can man. I don't even want to see it without him. And then it was like, okay, there's a trash can man. I'll watch it. And now we're at episode 5, and there's still no trash. So my bad was a kind of a big bad for me. Like I kind of go after we podcast, I kind of want to go watch the next episode to see if maybe he pops up in 6.
Well, because now you can because we've podcasted.
Right, but if he's not in 6, like my rating may go down. Like I keep saying my rating keeps going up.
I am threatening you. If he's not in 6, my rating is going down.
I'm warning you, you will suffer.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
All right, so what was your ugly, and was it good or bad?
So my ugly, I think, was probably mostly good, and it's that Dana's death was somewhat accurate. So she actually, in the novel, dies more in the way with what you describe in the book. She throws herself out of a window and, like, stabs her neck on the broken pane of the window.
Mm-hmm.
But I really liked the way that they did her death in this episode with the broken beer bottle. I thought that was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I also really liked that she stabbed Flag in the neck and like completely broke the cardinal rule of a horror movie, which is where you're like, you don't assume that the bad guy is dead.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, and I totally love that he was like, haha, learned this from my last lover, so-and-so.
Stanislavski?
No, it was like Konstantin Stanislav or something like that. It was
right.
It was a guy.
A Russian method actor.
Oh, that's what I thought. That's totally what I thought. And so I'm glad that you looked him up because that was totally consistent with what I thought.
Yeah, apparently there's a whole school of acting teaching, of method acting, based on his work. So, yeah. I was just like, okay, I have to understand the reference, you know?
Too funny. And isn't it funny that they made a reference to that actor? So I'm kind of curious to know about that acting teacher, and was he homosexual? And, like, is that reference a thing, or did the writers just throw that in there, or?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Interesting. Yeah. So, and in the original one, I don't know about the book, but in the original 94 version, Flag gets really like upset that Dana killed herself. Like
right, and he actually does in the book as well.
Okay, so in the he had already made something. I can't remember what had actually happened, but it made him like basically tear up his hotel room. And so when Dana goes in, there's nothing like, and she's like, why no chairs? And he's like, no, I think truth tellers don't actually sit. I think truth tellers, just kind of hunker down. And he's like, I want us to tell the truth here. And like, so there's nothing for her to work with. So thankfully she had this knife on her, but he turns it into a banana. And then the only thing left for her to do is to throw herself into the glass. And so I thought it was interesting. In this one, Flag is so calm and collected about everything. He's very nonplussed about, like, Dana killing herself. He's just kind of like, huh, that sucks. Like, so it's an interesting way to play Flag, which I love Mia Skarsgård, so I will never complain about any of his characters.
Okay, so we're kind of into writing potpourri,
Oh,
right?
I haven't done my ugly.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So it's my ugly, and for as it's funny when I rate an episode highly, I usually have more bad things to say about it. So I guess I just like conflict. But Harold knowing that Larry was in his house and having access to the nanny cam in Fran and Stu's bedroom.
Ew.
There's no internet. Like,
Oh, good point. So like they have barely managed to establish electricity. That is completely sorry. It's late. I'm tired. I've had too much wine. That is completely legit.
I mean, unless he has a direct wired camera.
No,
which
that's
that
completely
nanny cam is a wireless
legit.
camera.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm like, somebody did some lazy writing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a interesting plot device, but they sort of overlooked some stuff there. Yeah. So now we're in rotting potpourri.
And I was going to go on about something from your bad, and I can't remember what it was. I guess I'll get there when I get there.
So I was talking about how great Skarsgårds are.
Oh. So I just thought that the whole thing of him, like, on the big screen was awful. It was bad CGI. It was not a good representation of the actor. I was very disappointed.
Yeah, and I mean, I get why they did it, but I don't think it was necessary. They did the whole where he's talking to his audience and all of a sudden only Dana sees him looking straight at her, but you can still hear the audio of him talking. So nobody else is seeing him staring her down. So she kind of gets that sinking feeling of like the jig is up. And, but it wasn't necessary at all, I think. It wasn't in the original. So it really didn't serve a lot of purpose other than maybe a little foreboding. Like, yeah.
I didn't like it. I thought it was badly done, and I just didn't really feel like it added anything.
Yeah. It like unnecessary.
Yeah, I agree. So this kind of goes back to my bad, but I just was so disappointed that Lloyd and Julie are such giant caricatures and they're not who they were in the novel. I don't like it. I mean, I think Julie is really sexy, don't get me wrong. I think she's gorgeous. That is totally not who she was in the novel, and I'm disappointed. I mean, I was looking at her in her lingerie tonight, and I was like, dang.
And I just, I always have it, or I always had, like, we have a couple of nieces who, like, are, like, pretty literally have different hair colors every week. And I absolutely love it. I'm here for it. And I always said if I had it all to do over again, I would go through my teens and my early 20s with probably bubblegum pink hair, cotton candy pink hair.
You know, if I could get away with it again, I would, because porn star pink hair was my favorite hair. But yeah, I can't.
I was in one of the local dive places that's like the only food that's open after bar close around here. And one night after night at the bars, there was a girl. She came in and she was dressed in kind of the Lolita style, where she kind of looks like a doll, like a little China doll, with the big flared skirt and everything. And she had the most beautiful bubblegum pink curly Q hair that I had ever seen. And I am just like, is your hair real? Like, it's an amazing wig, but it's even more amazing if it's your real hair, and it was her real hair. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I would kill for that girl's hair. And so I've always loved pink hair. And I loved the character of Julie in the 94 version. I'm still loving her in this one. Like I said, not a fan of Lloyd. And God, her boots this episode. Those over the knee black sparkly boots.
You know, I've got to admit, I'm totally getting into good hair and good clothes, so I get that. I totally get that.
Well, and God, I think it was our Capes and Lunatics After Dark where, or no, maybe it was the one before that. I brought out my sparkly platform heels.
I can't remember which episode you brought those out for.
I'm just totally missing like playing dress up. Like I went to work Friday and it was my first full day back to work since I was sent home quarantined in early March of last year. So it has been I've gone into work, but I have not done a full day. And like, it was kind of cool, like getting up and showering and doing my hair and putting my makeup on and putting on real pants. And
you know, like, I have totally dressed up and done hair and makeup all week, and it's been phenomenal. So I get it. I get it. And
I didn't even put a whole lot of effort into it because what I was actually going in to work to do was we had our office repainted. And we have a new deputy director. And so moving the old one stuff out of the office and reconfiguring the office for the new deputy director and all the repainting where we had to take everything off the walls. And we just had done. So we were trying to put the office back together again and rehang stuff. And our walls are concrete. So I apparently am the only one with real tools. So I was actually going in to do manual labor and not, so I was wearing like jeans and t-shirt. I wasn't wearing like heels and a dress or anything, but it was just, yeah, I totally miss like hair and makeup and high heels and sparkly stuff and like, yeah.
Yeah, so, no, I get it.
So speaking of Julie, you know, I think one of the, I like I said, I love her look. I miss the crazy Julie from the 94, but this Julie's super clever.
She's smarter than the Julie from the book, and it sounds like she's smarter than the Julie from the 94. She's still not super clever, but she's more clever. So,
if you notice, like, she really just wanted to snort coke and go shopping. She didn't want to have sex with Lloyd. She's like, flag.
That is so funny. So when she was snorting coke, I was like, Flag would never support that. Because Flag was totally like, no drugs, no alcohol. I'm not even sure where he was about the whole sex thing. And he definitely wouldn't have been like, Julie, you can snort coke and mention my name anytime you want.
Right? But, like, it was a total ploy to get out of having a threesome.
It was! And then it was like, okay, so I don't have to have sex with either one of you. Let's go buy some clothes.
Right? I was like, clever girl, because she knows what it does to him.
That is so... And, you know, the thing is, again, that is not the character that Lloyd was in the novel. It sounds like it was not the character that Lloyd was in 94.
No.
So it's actually a little disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was pretty funny nonetheless.
I think I would have been okay if this was a separate storyline and this wouldn't have been Lloyd and Julie. This would, like... I mean, if they really just wanted to throw, like, some chicks in lingerie and some drug use in, they could have done it aside and had a real Lloyd and a real Julie character. But, yeah, because, like I said, I'm liking this Julie, but not as Julie. Like, she would have been fine as a different character, just an additional character.
Interesting.
Yeah. So completely off what we're talking about and back to Colorado. The person that owned Harold's house before him was a wine collector. And my first thought was, that's why I would be on the body team. Like, if I was going out to clear out bodies.
Because you could scope out the best houses.
Yes! Remind me to sign up for the body team.
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
And like, I would imagine that the people who had to clean out the bodies and clean out the houses got the pick of the houses first, you know?
Okay, so at this point, I'm going to confess something. I would sign up for something terrible in New Vegas.
You would or you wouldn't?
I would.
What would you sign up for?
Something terrible, something sinful.
I would have loved to have been, God, what was her character's name? She was basically the...
the rat woman.
The rat woman, yes.
So the rat woman is apparently a character in the novel called the Rat Man, but I don't remember that character at all. At all.
He was like... in the 94 movie, he was like Lloyd's right-hand man.
Interesting. So,
yeah, he was like third in charge.
You know, when I go back and reread that 1,000-page novel again, I'll let you know. But I was like, really? He was a character? Really?
Yeah, he's very obvious in the 94 movie. He's got a bit part, but the actor is Rick Aviles.
Boy, that name sounds kind of familiar.
So
was he in Top Gun?
I don't know if he was in Top Gun. So, do you remember the guy in Ghost who killed Patrick Swayze?
No.
Okay, he was that guy. He was also in Waterworld, Cannonball Run, Carlito's Way. Let's see. The Secret of My Success. He had a bit part there. The Godfather Part 3. He had a bit part. He was in 6 episodes of The Carol Burnett Show.
I don't remember him at all. Isn't that funny?
He died in 1995. So,
oh my god. So the best advice I got from somebody this week was make some memories for the nursing home. So that's what I'm saying to you. He died in 1995. Make some memories for the nursing home, for the love of God.
He was only 42 when he died.
Oh, that is so sad. He
has a very distinctive voice and look, so you'll definitely be able to pick the Rat Man out of the 94 version.
Okay, yeah, because I don't remember him, and of course I didn't watch the 94 version, but I don't remember him from anything else. So. Yeah. I know Koba has found her toy. She's been carrying on with it throughout. So Tom with the clerk was super funny. No, you have to understand, ma'am. I'm a developmentally disabled man, and she was like, "Oh, for the love of God, really? Does he say anything else?"
And she was terrible. She was like, "Just throw him in the slave pit."
Well, but she's terrible because she works in New Vegas.
And she works with the public in New Vegas.
Right.
She's like the employment office.
But I've also got to tell you that I don't remember what Tom did for New Vegas in the novel. I want to say it was like being on like a power company or something like that. But there was no charnel pit. There was no combat pit. There was no body crew. There was nothing like that for New Vegas. So I don't remember what Tom's job was.
So in the 94 version, Tom actually got a kind of his job was very important for his mission as a spy. He wound up working at like basically a maintenance or a clearing crew out at the Air Force Base where they had the missiles and all that kind of
maybe
stuff.
That was it, because that was kind of a tie-in for Trash Can Man.
Right, exactly. And then in the 94 version, when Julie was when Dana was confronting Flag, and they were talking about being honest. So she's like, so what are you doing out there at the, the Air Force Base with all of the missiles and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, basically, never you mind about that, And so Tom actually sees them preparing the missiles. So he does have a very important job as far as spying. It's a very menial job, but
that may be more consistent with the novel. And again, I've said, I just recently reread it, but there was stuff that stuck out more in my brain than other things, like, the big things, the overarching themes.
Right. And so it'll be interesting to figure out what they have Tom report on, where he is now, because it didn't seem like he was privy to anything too interesting.
Yeah, he's not.
It seemed like Dana was kind of giving him the signal to go home.
Right. Which, again, we talked about last week is not consistent at all with the way that Tom was prepped to go and spy and then go home.
Yeah, he was given basically a timeline of like when
Well, and it was implanted hypnotically.
Yeah, and it kind of seems like this was like implanted that like these were the trigger words, like bracelet and what was the other thing she said? Something about... It
was like her grandmother's bracelet or something like that.
Yeah, or her mother's bracelet, and it made him think of Mother Abigail, and yeah, so it'll be interesting what they have him be able to report back on. So, Nadine has seen more than one Dateline.
What do you mean by that?
So she totally staged it to look like the guy had killed himself.
Oh, I thought it was Harold who staged that.
Okay, they did, but then she's like, give me your clothes, like they're gonna have like forensic evidence on their all black clothing.
Right, and like they're really gonna be able to do that in a place where they've barely managed to be able to get the power on.
Right? But she's all ready to like bag up all the clothes and burn them, I was like, wow, Nadine's a murderino.
I've got to tell you, the whole Mother Abigail, like, I've sinned against God, what have I done, blah, blah, blah. I was, like, not into that. That didn't do anything for me. And then the whole Mother Abigail with Joe with the piano, that, like, didn't do anything for me. I go back to Whoopi Goldberg is not my favorite casting in this series. It's Whoopi Goldberg. It's not Mother Abigail.
And yeah, exactly. And, we've talked about it previously where, you and I are not very religious people at all. And so the original Mother Abigail, like talking to God and praying and things like that, it came off as a lot more genuine. Whereas this came off, I don't know, her yelling at Nick about,
and I don't remember that
and things like that. And
I really don't remember her going off on Nick about them sending off spies and the whole, they sent spies into the land of Canaan and it got them 40 years in the desert. And I was like, okay, I need to look that up in the Bible because I don't remember that.
But just the whole storyline with Mother Abigail this episode, when she was talking to Nadine and Joe was playing the piano, and there was the whole...
that, like, totally didn't happen.
I leave the lid open so the kids can see what happens when they press the keys and everything, and then you see Nadine look into the piano from, like, inside the piano's perspective, and I'm like, I feel like we're missing something here. I feel like something was edited out that goes with this scene that we're not getting. Like, I don't understand why we're seeing this from the piano's perspective.
Oh! That's funny.
So was the whole Fran asking Larry to break in?
No, it was completely bogus.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought so. So
And
I thought
I
that was
actually,
weird.
so like maybe Larry was the person who broke in, but they found a journal, and I don't actually think it was Larry, but I can't remember. It wasn't like, he found a big computer setup and all of that kind. No.
Well, he didn't
No,
find
it was
computers. He
that.
found Nadine's shirt and a locked basement door, and that's like it.
Yeah, no, they found. So we talked about this before. Harold read Franny's journal,
Yeah,
and then they
that's right.
found Harold's journal, and that was like one of the things that kind of set everything off.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just that wasn't in the 94 version, so I kind of thought that maybe it was not part of the book. And I think that was also maybe a kind of way to show again, to just sort of, I guess, reiterate, because we haven't figured it out, that like Harold's super butthurt over Franny and Stu, and the whole the palace playground ice cream where he's like, that didn't actually never
Wasn't that
happened.
weird?
Yeah, I'm just like,
Yes.
and oh god, the guy that plays Harold, we've talked about
Yeah,
him.
he's so good.
He's so good.
Yeah, he really is.
He plays creep so well.
Like
And
when
like I
he
said,
was going up the stairs in their house, I was like, oh. Yeah.
yeah, isn't there a first floor bathroom?
Apparently not. Apparently not.
Oh. And the other half was like, I'm surprised they have plumbing. Like their plumbing works. I'm like, huh, that's a good point. I know, like, they made a big deal about getting the power on in one of the episodes, and they also did in the 94 version, but like nobody ever says anything about like, is somebody manning the wastewater treatment plant?
Good point.
The weird things we worry about. That's the city planning nerd in me.
That is so funny. Um. Oh, I thought the whole thing about Flag basically saying that he groomed Nadine from the time that he was 12 was really squicky.
Oh, so squeaky.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh god, yeah.
That was
You know,
not part of the book at all.
and it kind of just made me go back to the whole, like, when they were in the state home and the girls were like, you have to come do this with us. If she had never done that, like, would Flag have not taken notice of her? Would it have been some other girl? Or, like, was it destined to be her one way or another?
That's really interesting.
But yeah, so squicky. 12. Ugh.
So that actually makes me think a little bit more about the Nadine Larry thing, because I actually wrote down, would things have been completely different if Larry had like not had the assignment to go and investigate Harold's house? Would he actually potentially have given in and then had sex with Nadine, and then everything would have been fine and she wouldn't have been Randall's woman? It kind of made me wonder.
Yeah, I don't know. But like, I do have to say that like I said, I liked this scene better than the 94 version, because at the end, Nadine looked so deflated. She was just like, she was so resigned that she's like, okay, basically there's no hope for my soul. Whereas
And that was kind of the way she was in the book, too. She was basically like, this is my last chance. And if you don't have sex with me now and save me from a Randall Flag, that's it. I'm done. I'm done for her.
and I think it was just better acted in this one than it was the 94 version. It came off a lot better. God, I can't remember her name. I always remember her from Pretty Woman.
Laura San Giacomo.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it right, I don't think, but San Giacomo? Yeah, I don't know.
She kind of played a more like, she was a slightly more like Julie, where it was kind of like, instead of crying, she laughs. Like, oh,
sorry.
But yeah, so it just this version was better than the 94 version in that way. So, Harold was also a really good actor when Stu broke it to him that his friend had killed himself.
Right.
Harold was very convincing about like being upset and then being like, oh, he took the easy way out. Like, like very, very convincing.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, the whole Weezak storyline is just so different than the way it was in the novel that,
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that is all of my notes that I have. Do you have any last things?
I'm looking. Give me just a chance here. Oh, so I wrote down, so the song that was being played while Larry is searching Harold's house is a song called Goodbye by a group called Junk and Hungry. And I thought it was really cool, so I actually put it on my phone to listen to later.
Oh.
Yeah, it was kind of haunting. It was kind of a really interesting song.
Yeah, there hasn't been they only have one or two songs an episode.
Right, it's not like Walking Dead where you're like, oh my god, the soundtrack for this season is amazing.
Right,
yeah.
But every song that's chosen is I really like the soundtrack that they're going with.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I think that it's been a great soundtrack. It just hasn't been like a standout soundtrack like a season of Walking Dead. But anyway, Goodbye by Junk and Hungry. So
okay.
That's on my playlist on my phone now. I did note, and you just mentioned that, where we see a pretty dark Harold, and I really like the Harold that we saw.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Dana's death. Oh, so one of the things that I had to write about Dana's death is that, Flag is basically like, who's the third? Who's the third? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, so he already knows about the judge and we're never going to find out anything more about the judge? That's it? They're not going to talk anything else about the judge in this? I was disappointed by that.
So I remember them referencing it in the 94 version when he and Dana are talking in his penthouse and they're being honest, and he's like, she's like, I don't know who the third is. I didn't even know about the judge until you just said his name now, and that's the only reference that we get to him in the 94 version. So I just sort of assumed that, that storyline played out and we don't see it. So maybe we'll get it because we have 3 episodes left. But like I said, we still don't have Trash Can Man, so I'm not holding out any hope for anybody else's storyline.
Right? Kind of tragic, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, do I have anything else? Oh. No, that was really it. I mean, I kind of wrote a thing about Don't Fear the Reaper, but we've already talked about that, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I continue to be glad that we're doing this series. It was not as good this episode, I thought, which I think it's really funny that you liked this episode better. But
have you ever been to Vegas?
No.
I have. I love it.
Girl, my life is going to completely change once this pandemic settles down. You already know that my life has changed a lot in the last 6 months. My life is going to completely change when this pandemic settles down.
Yeah, it's going to be a whole new world.
So Vegas may have to be on the list.
Yeah.
I will tell you, Los Angeles is on the list because I'd really like to go see my friend Todd and his wife.
Oh, that would be cool.
But, yeah, there's a lot of stuff on my list.
Yeah.
My list has gotten very big because the nursing home is going to be really boring if I don't start putting some stuff on my list.
You know, we were talking about it before the episode. I am still totally down to do an ayahuasca trip down to South America.
You know, I have been told I have to get out of my head a little more, so I may take you up on that.
I've been watching some stuff on the Vice channel on Sling, and you know, because the Vice Media, they do a lot of really cool documentaries and stuff, and they're actually doing one on like the study of psychoactive drugs and microdosing and LSD and things like that, and shrooms and stuff like that. And I think we've talked about it before too, where you know, it basically like rewires people's brains in a good way. So.
I am a little scared that I might have a super bad trip, so we'll have to make sure we have a really good shaman. But
yeah, and that's why we're going together.
Okay, I'm good with that. You have to be my second. You have to be my person who grounds me.
But we definitely need to go do like some sort of like Vegas and like I've only been to Vegas once, and I love it for like the shows and, you know, just the whole tourist. I'm not a gambler. I can, slots are kind of boring to me. I'll sit at the blackjack table. I don't play poker. So it's not the gambling or anything like that. It's like, there's so much to do and see and so many shows and concerts and everything.
Look, you know that my perspective on life has changed a lot lately. So I am down.
And they're like, I went and saw a whole bunch of 80s hair bands when I was there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I went to like Def Leppard and Poison. I saw some 90s bands. I did see a Nickelback concert.
Good for you.
I don't care what anyone says.
Good for
I love Nickelback. So yeah, Vegas is amazing. So I loved this episode because Vegas.
So don't forget, Drunk and Hungry and She Wants Revenge.
Drunk and Hungry and She Wants Revenge.
Yeah.
All right. We will put that on the playlist, and I encourage everyone to go watch Assassination Nation with Odessa Young, because that's what we are podcasting tomorrow night. But until then, just remember,
take it one dead day at a time.
Have a good week, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.